does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
In 1962, a young 15-year-old boy was bitten by a spider. Over the next few days, he experienced the loss of his beloved uncle and realized that he had attained powers from the bite. This boy was Peter Parker, or, as he is more commonly known, Spider-Man.
When we say we are going to create Spider-Man, we mean that we are going to see if we can replicate his four main abilities: wall crawling, spidey sense, enhanced physical capabilities, and his infamous webs.
Without further ado, let's talk some Spider-Man. First off, Spider-Man is known mostly for his infamous ability to crawl on walls and ceilings. But how does he accomplish such a feat? Well, he uses his feet, and his hands, and maybe his knees? But before we get into the nitty-gritty of that, let's see how spiders do it. Spiders and other organisms, such as geckos, use a force known as van der Waals forces to climb. Now, van der Waals forces works by using what are called spatulae. Spatulae are the microscopic hairs on the end of the appendages that climbing organisms use to climb. Or it's what's on the spider's feet that lets the spider. Since the spatulae are so incredibly small, they can interact with individual atoms. When the atoms of the spatulae and the atoms of the surface trying to be climbed meet, a weak bond forms between the atoms. Since all atoms have charges, when the atoms are brought together, a weak electrical attraction occurs. This force, when spread out amongst millions of spatulae, is strong enough to let the organism climb walls and ceilings and whatever other places its little heart desires. Now, this is all well and good, but could it lift a human? Well, in a scientific study done by the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America, try saying that one 5 times fast, the weight of an animal is directly proportionate to the surface area needed to hold itself up. After doing the math, this means that an average human would need to devote about 40% of their body to spatulae. So in order to lift himself, our Spider-Man would need to use not only his hands and feet, but also part of his chest and legs. This would require him to slither around on the surface he is climbing, which technically works but has many drawbacks and does not look at all as cool. Fortunately, we can save our Spider-Man's ability to look cool by using a material made by researchers at the University of Dayton, the Georgia Institute of Technology, the Air Force Research Laboratory, and the University of Akron. This material is based on carbon nanotubes and is so fine that it has a 10 times better van der Waals forces interaction than spatulae do. According to an excellent video done by scientist Kyle Hill, only 7.5 centimeters squared of the carbon nanotube material is needed for a human to climb walls and ceilings. He then explains that 7.5 centimeters squared means that you could hypothetically use 3 fingers to climb, let alone hands and feet. Van der Waals forces also allow for easy detachment from the surface trying to be climbed because the angle at which the nanotube is applied affects how strong the adhesive force will be. So, by using the nanotubes and Van der Waals forces, we can make a wall-crawling Spider-Man right now, if we had the millions of dollars to buy the nanotubes, that is.
Next off the list is Spidey Sense. Spidey Sense is based off of a spider's ability to sense vibrations in the air using fine hairs called trichobothria. In the comics, Spider-Man used his Spidey Sense to sense the danger coming his way. Trichobothria would be small enough of a change that we could genetically engineer them into our Spider-Man. Genetic modification could be taken care of through use of the CRISPR-Cas9 complex. A sort of placeholder is cut into the DNA, ready to accept new lines of DNA. In addition, viral injection methods could be utilized. Viruses survive by implementing a strategy similar to the Greeks' Trojan horse. They pass some of their own genetic code off as the invaded cell's genetic code and have the cells express said code for them. So really it's like the Trojan horse, but if the Greeks had the Trojans make babies that they used to kill them. It is possible that this genetic modification could be caused by a radioactive spider bite, though the odds that you would get these specific outcomes are very slim, not to mention the idea of a radioactive spider is preposterous. The Spidey Sense is a sensory ability, so it could also be replicated with sensory technology. Spider-Man could incorporate sensory devices on his suit that could keep an eye out for danger. For example, he could program video recognition that would recognize the faces or logo of his foes and alert him of their presence. A downside of this replication in comparison to the first one is that it would require Spider-Man to wear his gear and keep from damaging it during his fights. The whole concept behind Spidey Sense is making Spider-Man more aware. If he were to have the ears of a dog for hearing or the echolocation of a beluga whale, he would be much more aware to disturbances. Other less standard senses could include the addition of something like shark Lorenzini jelly. Sharks have a network of pores on their face that can help them detect minute differences in electrical charge. Sadly, the Spidey sense cannot be replicated to be completely authentic. In the Spidey comics, Spidey sense warns him of all incoming danger, wherever he is and no matter what he is doing or wearing. Even with the best replication, it would require for his sensors not to be covered, which would be impossible with his suit and could only warn him of potential threats instead of all danger.
Alright, moving on. When Peter Parker was bitten by a radioactive spider, he not only got abilities like being able to crawl on walls and shoot webs, he also got enhanced physical abilities. Chief among these abilities are his super strength as well as his flexibility and agility. Now it is stated by Marvel that Spider-Man can lift 10 tons. In order to lift this amount of weight, our Spider-Man would really need to hit the gym. But even if he stuck to his workouts, which he probably wouldn't, he still wouldn't come close to 10 tons. So let's help him out, shall we? We briefly looked at non-mechanical ways such as utilizing hysterical strength, but decided to go the tech route. How we would do this would be by using a mechanical suit. First, our Spider-Man would need an exoskeleton in order to not be crushed by the weights he is trying to lift. Since titanium can withstand 20,000 pounds per square inch of pressure, it would be a good candidate for the exoskeleton. Then, hydraulic cylinders would be added in 4 places. From his chest to his lower arm, diagonal to his armpit, and from his bicep to his forearm, on both arms. These cylinders work by adding hydraulic fluid at 5,000 psi to a space, thus creating pressure until the top part of the space is forced to move, lifting the object. The cylinders would be attached to a backpack and our Spider-Man could press a button to engage them. They would act as his arm muscles and allow him to lift 10 tons. Spider-Man is more flexible and agile than the average human. Besides being in peak flexible condition and being very agile, our Spider-Man could use a technique used by snakes and other creatures. Snakes can strike at insanely fast speeds, about half the time it takes a human to blink an eye. While scientists are still unsure to how exactly snakes are able to pull off their incredible feats of speed, it is speculated that the snakes contract all of their muscles and let them go like a rubber band snapping. This is a very accurate guess due to the fact that other organisms, such as the mantis shrimp, which can pack a punch with the force of a bullet, utilize their muscle groups to act like a spring, building tension until it is released with astonishing results. So, if our Spider-Man could contract his muscles and release them all at once, he would be able to surpass human speeds. Maybe we should change his name to Spider-Snake Man. Snake Spider-Man? Snyder-Man? No, he should just stick to Spider-Man.
Another ability that Spider-Man possesses is his web-slinging ability, or ability to throw webs. For web-slinging, we originally tried to investigate a possible application of biofilms. Biofilms are sort of like a bacterial swarm. Just imagine a bunch of bacteria clumped together holding hands, or extracellular fiber, and spewing a matrix of polysaccharides, proteins, and nucleic acids on each other. Now, imagine that going on Spidey's wrist, his enemies, and a good portion of New York City, which is not only so disgusting, but it isn't the most effective option. Although bacteria might be the right direction to head in, the stickiest substance found in nature happens to be an adhesive produced by the bacteria Calyobacter crescentis. It is said to be 3 times stronger than superglue, taking 70 newtons per square millimeter to detach it from a surface. That's 15 pounds of force per square millimeter. Another lead to investigate would be the use of hydrogel. Hydrogel is a network of polymer chains that are hydrophilic. Researchers at Cambridge University made a mixture that is 98% water, 2% silica, and cellulose. The silica and cellulose are held together by cucurbitals, molecules that, quote, serve as handcuffs. After 30 seconds or so, the water evaporates, leaving behind only the strong, stretchy thread. Finally, let's take a look at real spiderwebs. There are many kinds of spiderwebs that have different uses, but all of them have many codons or sections of DNA worth of amino acids, alanine, and glycine. This would lead us to believe that there is some significance to these amino acids in spider silk. So the idea is that our favorite nerd Peter Parker could use this knowledge to create his web shooter. The web shooter would probably use compression and a triangular shape to propel the fluid, working off of Bernoulli's law. It would also probably include some spinning motion, either to keep the fluid from drying and or to wrap the strands like a threefold cord for tensile strength. Sadly, the actual exact composition of this web shooter would require testing that is above my partner and I. It should be noted that actual genetic modification allowing for a spinneret in Spidey's wrist is a bit beyond the world right now. I mean, the things we are able to do genetically is amazing, including such feats as goats that can produce proteins that are found in spider silk, but the line is drawn at incorporating entirely new organs into the wrist.
Could we make a Spider-Man? Possibly.
Our final consensus is that with the technology present today, we could make an adequate Spider-Man, but the way science is headed and the progress we've made so far, we think we could probably make an effective and near-authentic Spider-Man in a few years.
So we'll be back. Thank you.